So today I'm going to talk about meditation, mindfulness, and clearing the mind as a tool to help recover from things and help dealing with anxiety. So today I'm testing a new camera and a new audio and new mic, seeing if this is any better. So I want to talk about mindfulness, meditation, clearing the mind, different methods of just kind of clearing your thought process. Some of the things that a lot of us have to deal with has to do with, jumbling of the mind and jumbling of the thoughts, racing thoughts, frantic thoughts, intrusive thoughts, different kinds of chemicals running through the body when it comes to anxiety and dealing with things, grief, for instance. I think that one of the biggest debates has always been, well, where's the science behind meditation? Where's the science behind mindfulness? I'm not going to get into that. That is very subjective, and I don't think that it's actually a good conversation. I would rather talk about what has it done for me and what has it done for the people that I know. For me, mindfulness has been one of the key things to helping me become a functional person dealing with all the stuff in my past. Mindfulness comes from Buddhism, meditation, and Taoism, and all those kinds of directions, mostly a Eastern influence. The idea behind it is basically to pay attention to something and be conscious of something. Now, when you think about that seems pretty self-explanatory. It's like, well, aren't I thinking about it? But it's more complicated than that, and it's a little deeper than that. For me, one of the biggest tools that I've used is watching the clock for a minute. I think I've mentioned this before in a previous video. It seems very mundane, but you practice the idea of mindfulness for an entire minute. And for me, that really helps slow things down. If I think that things are going too frantically, I feel like I'm losing track of time, which really happens a lot to people like me. That is one of the things that I use to sort of reset and kind of look at, okay, well, time is not passing any quicker than it was before. The clock has not changed at all. It's just my sense of my surroundings, my consciousness has changed. So when I feel like things are getting a little bit out of control, I'll basically sit down and I will watch the clock for an entire minute. I'll count every single second, be aware that every single second is passing, and just watch the clock. And I don't think about anything else other than watching the clock. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And it's really, for me, it's a lot helpful that if I have an analog clock, I can watch the hand move around, so then it's more a visual and a sound thing. I mean, I like to say it inside my head, but you kind of, like I've talked about before, you kind of flood your brain with things, so it's a little more difficult for your brain to throw things at you. So mindfulness is basically all that, is just paying attention to something. Like right now, you're only paying attention to this video, hopefully anyway. So you're focusing on every single aspect of it. Like right now that I've said that you're paying attention to the video, now you're thinking about other things and you're kind of focusing on something else or noticing something out of the corner of your eye, and that's very normal for regular people. For people who are emotionally heightened, that they're going to be even more aware of things around them, like what was that car, what was that smell, like did I shower today, did I change my clothes today, did I do this, did I that, and your brain kind of throws a lot of things at you. So doing something and really focusing on it has been really the most helpful tool for me. A lot of things have helped, therapy, counseling, reading about things, about different mental illnesses, talking to people who've gone through things, talking to peers, like older people. They've gone through some stuff that we may not even realize that they've gone through. Having these conversations, like some people are completely unassuming, so don't think just because somebody doesn't show the face of depression or show the face of of troubled times that they've not gone through things. So back to mindfulness. The more you practice mindfulness and meditation and things like that, the better you get at it. And that's the thing is people tend to quit after the first couple times. and they don't see the benefits of it, and they're like, oh, this is stupid, this is dumb, I'm not going to sit here and not do anything for 5 minutes, I got other things to do, and that's a really negative way of looking at it. Like, you're literally, it's like lifting weights or sports. If you quit the first time you try it, that says more about you than anything else. Like, you need to keep going at it. Like, that's just the way it is. You're not going to be an NBA basketball player from picking up the ball. It doesn't work that way. So mindfulness, meditation, things like that, there is a price to pay, and that price is practice. You have to continually work on it. There's different ways of doing it. Mindfulness is not just sitting still and not doing anything. Mindfulness is doing something and being completely aware of everything other than thinking. And that is like the key behind the whole thing, is not thinking, but rather experiencing and being engulfed in that exact moment. So you're not being bombarded with all these other things. For me, Taekwondo, martial arts, Jiu-Jitsu has been very helpful for me to help zone out, and that zoning out really helps that mindfulness and being aware. Like when the instructor is literally showing something on you, like this choke. I mean, you're not going to be sitting there like, what did I have for breakfast today? Like, you're literally getting choked. So that's all you're thinking about. But being aware that you do that, is also very helpful to establishing that on your own and thinking about, okay, well, in that moment, I wasn't thinking about anything other than that one moment. And that has helped me get through a lot of things. A very good example would be grief. Grief has been, it's hard on people who are emotionally heightened or have problems regulating emotion, which is one of the things I have to deal with. So when you're going through grief or you're going through rejection, you're basically flooded with chemicals and emotions and thoughts, and it's just completely overwhelming. And you feel like there's no break from that, and that break only comes when you stop thinking. And unfortunately, in my past as well as many other people's past, the way they deal with that is through a self-harm, which is sex, drugs, rock and roll, that sort of thing. Not necessarily rock and roll, but I think you get my drift on that. So self-harm is a completely different story, but you have to recognize what is self-harm and why are you doing it. It's a form of self-medication. You're basically trying to medicate yourself or push things aside because they're so difficult to deal with. And mindfulness and meditation is one of those things that should be replacing those things. So instead of going out and getting blitz drunk Friday night because you just can't deal with how horrible things are, it's still going to be there Saturday morning. It's even going to be twice as worse Saturday morning, because then you're going to be hungover and you're dealing with your emotions. So it's a vicious cycle, and alcohol is probably one of the worst things you could possibly do to deal with emotions and things like that. So when you sit down and you really think about how do you deal with grief or rejection or two things, you just sit down and you have to do something, and that's really what it boils down to. If you're aware that something's going on, something is too much, or somebody maybe mentions to you, hey, you're kind of jumbled right now, you're mumbling to yourself and you're just not making any sense, maybe it's time to sit down and just watch the clock for a whole minute. Like, not kidding about it. It really helps to just put things into perspective. A lot of people have different ways of doing it. They would sit down and they would read a book. Reading is also another way of mindful meditation, or kind of not focusing on other issues, and you kind of lose yourself in the moment. And that's the whole idea, is to just experience something. So no matter how you do it, it's definitely something you should be working on and something you should be practicing. With that, leading into meditation is its own discussion. Meditation can be just as harmful as it is good, and I say that cautiously because if you don't have somebody to tell you, okay, well, you need to relax and do this and do that, you essentially just wind up even more frustrated because you're expecting something to happen. And if you don't have some sort of guidance, whether it's a some sort of philosophy that guides it, or a counselor or a therapist or somebody who's done meditation for a long time, or recognizes how to start things and teaches other people to do. Like, that is what you should be seeking. You shouldn't be trying to do it on your own specifically. You're just going to get frustrated because you don't know where to move forward from that. So you're basically just sitting there in silence, and after a while you're just going to be like, what am I even doing here? Like, I could be doing these other things. I could be out there creating something. So if you don't have any specific direction with meditation, it's going to be a little bit difficult. So do some research on it, talk to somebody, talk to me. I'm always here, mostly. But meditation is definitely a next step from mindfulness. And mindfulness is as long as you have that skill set to block everything out and experience the moment, that next progression is meditation. And meditation, then you are controlling your mind and body and kind of syncing them and allowing yourself to think without trying too hard, essentially. Meditation, there's a few different theories about it, and there's a few different philosophies about it. Personally, I feel that meditation is the act of not doing anything and focusing on one thing. Meditation can come in different forms. The more common one is sitting, in the lotus position and, closing your eyes and, having your fingers like this, which, however you do it, that's how it works. Personally, I do it very many different ways. I like to lay on my back in a sleep position, very similar to a sleep position. I find that more comfortable and a little easier to deal with, and I'm not moving around as much. Meditation is also something that you should have some sort of guidance with. Mindfulness into meditation, and honestly, if you meditate and you do mindfulness and you fall asleep, it's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? You essentially relaxed yourself. I mean, it's not a horrible thing, right? So don't worry about that. I mean, that comes with time, and the better you get at meditation, the better you get at mindfulness, the more aware that you become of your surroundings, and the more aware you become of your surroundings, the more aware you are of yourself. And that is where everything starts to change when it comes to rehabilitating your emotions, or rehabilitating the way you think. Is saying, okay, I'm completely aware of myself right now. I know I'm sitting in this chair, I'm talking to this camera, I'm actually looking at myself, which is very distracting for me because, it's always weird to look at yourself. But being aware of everything, is there a smell? Is there a sound? Is there movement? All of that ties together and lets you become more self-conscious in a good way, rather than being self-critical, right? So I want you to think about that. I'd love to hear what you guys think about, meditation and mindfulness, even your experiences for that matter. So that's about it for today. And remember, you are going to be okay. You just got to keep at it.